component or compound can actually decrease the H. pylori component. Staph aureus, E. coli, just some other colon related concerns. E. coli, is one of those pathogens that's found in like urinary tract infections and not so fun stuff like that. So some negatives there. The methicillin resistant Staph aureus or MRSA, and unfortunately we just we see so much of that. In the world in which we live, we see organisms that are starting to become resistant to antibiotics. Treating MRSA, typically is going to require, more than one antibiotic. And so then you're putting somebody on multiple antibiotics trying to knock down this infection. What's it doing to the microbiome? It's wreaking havoc, isn't it? Yes.
I read in Time that they have now discovered bacteria or gonorrhea resistant to meds. And in some countries it's spreading like wildfire. And we still have people who go to the bars and meet somebody, so we're all going to end up paying if this stuff.
Yeah, the sexually transmitted,
STDs.
Yeah, so, and I think, we're going to probably see more and more of that. And I, just looking at the past, history, I would say, yeah, we got a pretty good idea of where things are going to go. And so we have resistance, of organisms to our treatments, and yet here we're having a discussion today about a compound found in the foods we eat and beverages we drink that can actually decrease some of these organisms. Hep C virus, influenza virus. Of course, nobody here ever gets the flu, right? But it's literally just the idea that we can be boosting our immune system, and not that I'm promoting you out and start overdosing on green and black tea, but just kind of looking at the compounds, and this study specifically focused on the impacts on the microbiome of our GI tract. Epstein-Barr virus and even fungus, Candida genus. And again, the Candida is an opportunistic organism. You have somebody that their immune system's just really knocked down. The Candida can move in and just kind of start taking over, and of course nobody wants that. I mean, there's nothing positive going to be an outcome there. Some studies suggest that polyphenols can stimulate the growth of commensal and beneficial microbiota, while pathogenic strains are inhibited. And so again, that's kind of where that statement is going. Okay, these polyphenols that we find in the foods that we're eating and beverages that we're drinking can actually cause the negatives to drop, the pathogens to be less, and the positive organisms to be enhanced. Going, wow, here we go. Now we're talking about a win-win all the way around. And again, a list of various organisms there, which is fascinating, especially if you're a microbiologist. You're sitting here going, wow, yeah, I've seen those. Or a pathologist. You have somebody that comes in and very ill, and you've done either blood cultures or a specimen culture of some sort. When you start growing stuff like these, these organisms on a petri dish, and you're looking at them going, wow, and here we're talking about antibiotics, basically, of these pathogens available without you folks needing to even go to the pharmacy with a prescription. And so then the inhibitory effects of citrus polyphenols, and lists some of the different polyphenols, and they were looking specifically at the growth of H. pylori. Again, that pathogen that can be correlated and associated with peptic ulcer. And something that, peptic ulcers are all too common, and the handout today on gastritis, I'm gonna touch on here, just to kind of mix it up a little bit. But so in your mind, just be thinking, okay, so here we're talking about polyphenols found in citrus. Investigated the common effects of dietary phenols on the growth of the human gut bacteria and their adhesion to the enterocytes. Well, enterocytes are basically the cells of our small intestine. So you can think about it, we've got these organisms actually adhering to the cells of our small intestine. And part of our immune system, part of our body's defense mechanism. It's pretty fascinating stuff. And here we are talking about polyphenols and how they affect even how the organisms adhere to these small intestine cells. All of the polyphenols analyzed, except for rutin, were found to affect the viability of representative gut microflora in vitro. And then it goes into some others here. And I want to see if there was, and so, basically they just summarize, they go, polyphenols thus appear to be able to alter the gut microecology, and by affecting the total numbers of beneficial species in the gut, may confer positive gut health benefits. Well, for you and I, broken down, that just means you and I, when we're eating foods, and in this case citrus, that's going to have some of these fun polyphenols in there, we can actually have a positive outcome. We can have less propensity for peptic ulcers with H. pylori reduction. We can have less gastritis, other GI related issues, and again, just understanding that that's directly correlated, and can be directly correlated with our diet. Pretty amazing. I mean, if we went on a tour down to the emergency room, how many folks do you think we would see today with GI-related issues? A whole bunch, huh? And a few years ago, those of you that were in the class at that point, remember a gentleman that was in the ER the night before, came to our class that Sabbath morning after he was after he had left the ER. Remember what he was there for? GI-related issues. And as a class, we gave him 5 points to help ensure that he never went back to the ER for that same cause. And it's kind of exciting when we're starting to understand and realize and applying just diet-related changes that can be so incredibly beneficial that can even prevent ER visits. It's pretty fascinating stuff. But I think GI-related issues are just so incredibly prevalent. I've had so many of my patients actually come in and they've had incredible workups. I had one gentleman that just described a tearing, pain, just kind of a substernal pressure, and he went to the ER. They did a very comprehensive workup. Symptoms returned with a vengeance. He goes back to the ER, and they're going, we're not finding anything cardiac related. Well, because it wasn't. Makes sense, right? And so then they throw him on a ton of proton pump inhibitors, and I mean a ton. So now we're turning off the acid-producing pumps in the GI tract, okay, in the stomach. Okay? So now he's got less acid, but he's still having breakthrough symptoms. He comes in and he's describing just periodically just kind of a, stabbing, epigastric tenderness. And so we start talking about, dietary habits. We start talking about food choices. I got to tell you, within a couple of weeks to have those symptoms completely removed, simply because now we have an awareness of what we are putting into our mouth.
Don't leave us hanging. What was he eating?
Well, let's just start. We could do a list, okay? What is we already know what's going to contribute to reflux. Caffeinated beverages, okay? So you take caffeinated beverages, you take a poor meal schedule or a non-existent meal schedule, okay? You take a lot of processed foods, artificial processed foods, okay?
High fat.
High fat. What else is going to be contributory?
No fiber.
I'm sorry?
No fiber.
No fiber.
Drinking during meals.
Drinking during meals. Okay? So by the time we get done, we look at that. I mean, could we have created a more perfect storm? And the answer is no. So then the ER doc going, okay, I've got to knock this down, knowing that cardiac concerns have been ruled out, putting them on a ton of proton pump inhibitors. Now what's that going to do with regard to our microbiome? Any ideas? It's bad. Yeah. Because now we are altering the pH of our GI tract. And now we can eat polyphenols until the cows come home, to use a Nebraska term. And we are going to have a continuing, ongoing battle of maintaining a healthy microbiome, because we are putting medications into our system that are causing and will cause a continued dysbiosis. Wow. So let's take a look at the handouts. I really this out of the book. If I can hold that up, I want to show everybody this. This is a reference library that I purchased. Several years ago. We had foods and their healing power, and I think this is a 3-volume series, and then there's herbs that got a couple more volumes, and I love to use it as a reference, and I did give you a couple of pages from this resource, and basically what this is chapter 27. We are talking about foods that affect the stomach or the GI tract. And basically on this is volume 2, page 184, Dr. Pamplona Roger just kind of, I love how this is done. We've got dyspepsia, and it looks like 183 is actually, where it says scanty gastric juices. Okay, well this is for folks that are just not producing, the stomach acid. They're just not able to efficiently digest foods. Okay, and obviously a person that's taken a bunch of proton pump inhibitors, well, the proton pump inhibitors are turning off the acid pumps in the stomach, okay, so it can fuel these concerns. And so with low production of gastric juice, it's the foods there of some condiments and seasonings, and again I like how it's pointed out in in that little section here, it says without irritating or inflaming the stomach, as opposed to hot spices, coffee, wine, which do. And so we just are looking at like lemon and garlic and other aromatic herbs that can actually help promote production of digestive juices. Sweet pepper stimulates. And then pineapple. Pineapple increases the secretion of gastric juices without irritating the stomach.
It also has a digestion enzyme. Very much so. In fact, if somebody's really sick and they, you know, when you're really sick, it's hard to eat more coarser stuff and stuff. You can soak like oatmeal with pineapple juice and pre-digest it.
Right.
And then you can use that.
Right.
Yeah.
So definitely, you know, pointing out that pineapple can really have an enhancement of the digestion process. And in fact, that's what the second handout is on here as well. Dyspepsia, and this is difficulty in painful digestion, and commonly referred to as kind of indigestion. Now that would be kind of that, you know, the average person, if we stopped them going by out here on South Jackson, how many folks would have dyspepsia? You know, and are popping Rolaids and doing all this stuff. I think you'd be amazed at the percentage of individuals that live on these, you know, over-the-counter solutions. Yes?
Defining enzymes, it's like you have a big molecule and an enzyme breaks it apart so you can digest it.
Correct.
Okay, so.
I think it's bromelain that has,
It's
the
the-
pineapple
Yes,
has.
yeah.
Is this specific enzyme?
Yeah, it's an enzyme that breaks apart bigger molecules.
Right, and that's kind of what our body does. Our body specializes in taking an organic compound
That's why we need,
and snipping it, breaking it up, and making it so that then our body can actually you know, process it. And it's kind of fun when we start thinking, okay, everybody in this room today, after class, later during the week, you know, we're sitting here going, you know what, I think I'm going to get a pineapple because I'm going to get some digestive enzymes. I'm going to get some digestive benefit from that fruit. Pretty exciting, and I don't have to get a prescription to do that.
and that's why enzymes are so important. Even though it's there, you can't absorb things when they're a big molecule.
Yeah, absolutely, yes, and so it improves the efficiency of the whole digestive process. And I think every one of us, we want to have that. We want to have that improved efficiency. So sprouts, whole grains, salads, squash, papaya, fennel, and malt beverage I'm not that familiar with. But these are all food items that are recommended to be increased to address the dyspepsia. And then you'll notice over on the left, I like where he's talking about factors that can produce or aggravate dyspepsia, and that's chewing food insufficiently. Okay, so in other words, you and I are inhaling our food, and you know, 5 minutes later we have consumed the whole meal and we're done. Well, we've not chewed, we have not had the saliva production. We are undermining the digestive system. Eating at irregular hours. Well, you know, it just stands to reason. Somebody that eats a big dinner, well, they typically have a harder time sleeping. They don't sleep as well. They have a higher probability of dyspepsia or reflux. Yes?
Or what's popular today, grazing. They never get their stomach around.
Correct. And I think that's you know, one of the points that we gave this gentleman a few years ago was, you know, getting onto a meal schedule. It allows, you know, and what I refer to as that reversal of the wedge. Instead of a small little breakfast and a massive dinner, doing a larger breakfast and a smaller dinner. And just doing that alone will have an incredible impact on dyspepsia. Okay? But then what we also understand that if we are grazing and we never give our GI tract rest, we are also fueling everything from gastritis and dyspepsia to also an increased risk of colon cancer, and the list goes on and on and on of all the potential negatives simply that we are fueling by not having a structured meal schedule. And it's incredible the impacts that will be had just with that. Stress or nervous tension, and that's, you know, I think that if each one of us just kind of finds and develop strategies to deal with life. You know, it's like I tell my patients, we've got to have our smiling muscles working. That promotes health. And it's incredible. I can even be in a facility where we have 100 patients in lockdown. What reason do they have to smile? And yet, I will have folks come up to me and they know the question I'm going to ask. And they go, you know, Rob, my smiling muscles are working better. I'm going, awesome. You know, and even in a setting like that where you just feel like, you know, yeah, there's not a lot of hope, there's not a lot of anything really positive, yet we can find that the smiling muscles are such an incredibly important component. Mental health ties in with spiritual health and physical health, and they're all interconnected. And anybody that doesn't believe that, I'd love to visit with you after class, because we've got a lot of work to do. No, just kidding. Excess fats, excess liquids, you know, well, it's been mentioned, we don't want to have a lot of liquids and with our meals. You know, again, just undermining the whole digestive, you know, process. And then pineapple, the stomach's friend, so great breakdown of the nutritional compounds, and I was also enjoying, as I was, bromelain is the protein digesting enzyme that's found there. You know, I just am going, wow, how awesome is this? And I also love the fact that when you're eating pineapple, you think it's acidic. You know, and it points out here, in spite of its richness in acids, the pineapple acts as an alkalizer from a metabolic standpoint. In other words, as an antacid. And I'm just going, so some food for thought. Enjoy your week. May it be filled with pineapple. Let's close with a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you again for this opportunity to come together and enjoy health. Be with us now as we leave this place. Bring us all back again next week. In Jesus' name, amen. Good to see you all. Enjoy.